Welcome back to another episode of Forbidden Depths. I'm your host, Queen Frostbitten, and we're here today to get down, dirty, and sultry by staying open, educated, consensual, and safe. If you're returning, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for supporting the channel and its growth. If, of course, you're new here, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe, because one taste will never be enough. Awesome. Thank you guys for coming back to another episode of Forbidden Depths. Today we have somebody that's super, super amazing. First time anyone like this has been on the channel, so I'm so excited. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Oh, I'm Brian Gross. Hi.
And tell us what you do, Brian.
So I'm a publicist. I do media and public relations and marketing. I've been in the entertainment industry for 30 years now. I started when I was a senior in high school as an intern. And that's where it all began.
Nice. So what made you be interested? I need to know what started your fire.
Well, I knew I wanted to be in the music industry. I knew I wanted to work around bands and musicians. And it was literally, and everything I say when it goes back then is going to date myself, but it was taking out the CD collection. And it was going through and calling record labels and seeing who would take me as a high school intern. And most would not. Most only dealt with colleges. Right. But I found one independent label called Deaf American that the person who answered the phone literally said, "Why don't you come work for me?" And the rest was history. She was working in the PR department. She was the latest hire. So when the receptionist would go to lunch, she would cover. And I just happened to call within that hour that she was sitting at the desk.
Nice. It was meant to be.
Yeah, it was. There's no other way to put it. It just happened in that way.
Love it. I love it. So I know that you do a lot of PR work and it's like kind of a broad spectrum. So what kind of made you dabble in all different kinds of, I guess, relations? So we're looking at you doing music, you do like adult entertainment. So what kind of made you want to expand and do all of it?
Well, when I went on my own, I came from working at Vivid and then I started my company. I just realized that I could. I realized that if someone called me and said, "Hey, I have this project," if that person believed in me, then what's to stop me to trying to accomplish what I'm being asked to do? Yeah. So it just became one of those situations where, especially having spent a few years in the adult industry and sort of having that mark where I'm that guy who left the music industry and went to the adult industry, that if whoever calls and wants to hire me knows that I'm competent and able to do my job and hopefully do the best job I can for my clients. So when someone would call with a project, an event, 24 years and 400 plus clients later, I just look back and go, the answer was always, why not? And there were certain things. I remember I had an agent for like children's talent and for young kids trying to get into Hollywood. I'm like, I'm not the right fit. And he's like, "No, you'd be great." I'm like, I'm not. And then sure enough, one day it spoken to whoever, one of his partners, like, "And we might go a different way." I'm like, I told you. Like there's certain lines that just don't work. Right. But I mean, I've worked with religious centers. I've worked with nonprofits. I've worked with all forms of sexuality. So it's just been it sort of has grown from working with someone and having them go, "Hey," to someone else, "if you need this, hire Brian," Yeah, hell yeah. It's expanded in that way.
Nice. I have always found that word of mouth is extremely helpful. And in most cases, it's more helpful than a business card because, I mean, people are going to tell others about their experiences, right? Yeah. And that's huge. That's huge because somebody being like, "I had a great experience with this person. It was just fucking phenomenal." They're going to be like, maybe they could do that for me too,
Well, in this day and age, with over 5 million podcasts, I mean, this is a form of communication, right? It's just recorded. You and I are having a conversation where you're recording it, you're going to upload it, and it's a public conversation, right? That other people can listen in on. But at the end of the day, it's a form of conversation
Mm-hmm.
between two people or whoever else, you know, whenever you have other people on. So if
Right.
you have more than one. So with that in mind, this is one of those, I'm going to remember you if someone needs, if I meet someone that you would be a fit for and vice versa.
Right.
That's what we're doing. It's just
Yes.
the format of conversing isn't different. The
Mhm.
technology and how and what we do with it has
Right.
grown leaps and bounds.
And it's a lot more accessible. It used to be, I guess, more confined to certain people or certain
Yeah.
classes. Now everyone has access to it. It's the internet.
Well, one of the reasons, as a publicists don't do interviews, right? And
Right.
I'm a big proponent of that. You don't. But I've learned when you call me or you email me and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Well, who am I not to have a conversation, promote my clients, hopefully have
Yes.
my clients on your podcast, hopefully help you grow your podcast,
Hmm.
hopefully say something interesting that someone listening will be like, wow, that was, I didn't think of it that way, or I learned
Yeah.
this. So for me, again, it's not about the interview, but as much the conversation about you and I, or with you and I,
Hmm.
you know, to then open this up to people to listen in on and hopefully learn something from.
Yes. That's actually the whole reason I started the podcast. Education and behind the scenes kind of feel. And I mean, there's always new talent that just want to start, but they don't know where to start. They don't know how to
Yeah.
get started or who to contact.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like I want to put all of the information out there so it is accessible so that I guess there's no like terrible taboo. I want to shed light on the positive side because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, our community gets such a bad rep that I want people to know that it's not all like that. It's just bad news spreads so much faster than good news.
Amen. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And a lot of clients I have, current and over the years, are new talent trying to get into
Hmm.
this industry, trying to, you know, figure it out. And I do my best to guide them and steer them in the right direction,
Right.
to where they're making money, where they're comfortable, where they're having a good time, where they're expanding their businesses,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So, I mean, this is, like you said, an opportunity for those people to come in, listen, and
Hmm.
hopefully get something from this.
Yes, growth and knowledge. I love it. And I love the support aspect. So some
Yeah.
people do the gatekeeping nonsense. I don't like that because at the end of the day, people don't know what they don't know. And if the
Yeah.
information's not out there, they're never going to know.
Well, a great story about that. There were two publicists who were and are very successful. That when I started my company, I called each of them, and they literally gave me the 101 education. Do this, do that.
Hmm.
One of them, who had an incredibly successful entertainment PR firm, worked with the biggest names in
Hmm.
music and TV and film, took me in, walked me around his office, opened his books, showed me how it worked. And the best part was I learned, he had a staff of 20. He had like 10 other publicists. He was a huge firm.
Right.
And I learned I don't want to do that. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
my stuff small. But the fact that he opened the door and just was so open and was
Yeah.
so honest and was so giving. And like I said, I had another friend of mine who a mentor I looked up to, who did the same. It just reminded me that that's where success lies.
Yes.
If you try and hoard and hide and it doesn't work. If
Yeah.
you help and give, when people come to me, most of the time I'm not hiring, but I have like a job ops list.
Right.
And so I'm constantly sending out, when I get emails for openings, I'm sending it to that list. I'm
Hmm.
adding email addresses for people, and those people share it. And, the ultimate goal of something like that is for everyone to have a job and it to
Yes.
be zero. But that'll never happen, because the beauty of it is half my list are people who have jobs. They just take the
Right.
information from me and pass it on.
Yeah.
So it's important. And in this industry, there is an us against them mentality. It's us
Yes.
against the world.
Yeah.
And it,
Yes.
and so we have to protect those who want to do this and who have a passion for it,
Hmm.
and make sure they feel safe, coming into this industry.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. So, to anyone listening that doesn't really know kind of what he does, tell us what you do for your clients. Tell us what services you provide.
So I deal with the media. So I deal with all facets. Podcasting, I sort of put in with radio, that type of
Right.
communication, online, print, and television, and little niches as far as that goes. So I'm pitching my clients to get media attention, which is sort
Mhm.
of free. It's not advertising. We're not,
Right.
advertising is totally different. At the same time, media come to me with their needs, their desires for articles they're writing, for interviews they want to do. You
Hmm.
you come to me and go, hey, I want to interview
Right.
client X or client Y, and then my daily grind is setting up interviews, pitching clients, getting updates. Media people change hourly. I
Yes.
go on Twitter, and Twitter tells me when X amount of media people have announced they're leaving one place to go to another. People
Hmm.
that get into media, people that get out of media. So I'm dealing with, you know, blanket wise, hundreds of thousands of people on a daily
Right.
basis that I'm trying to communicate with, who are also being pitched by hundreds of other publicists. So
Yeah.
it's very competitive in that way. And it's a grind. And I come in every day and try and build relationships, as much as
Yes.
possible.
Right. And that's one of the biggest things I love about the industry too. It's one of those, you make good working relationships for future growth. So it's not one of those things like this is the only time I'm ever going to have a relationship with this person. No, for to be successful, you need those good working relationships consistently, right?
You could not have said that any better. I could not have said that any better. You said it the best. It's true. And it's something that, the thing that I tell people when I get into initial conversation, I say, this can go one of two ways. This is how this works. Either you and I are a team and we're working together, and I'm bringing you stuff and you're bringing me stuff, and we're working to grow your brand, to grow your business or businesses,
Right.
and to build your fan base, and we're doing it together.
Hmm.
Or, and I had this with bands, and I've had it with everything in my career. You expect me to do everything, and you'll sit back and do nothing.
Yeah.
And then a month later, you'll come to me and be like, well, what happened? Why didn't I get any press? Why? And I said from the very beginning, it's a team effort. You're going to have
Yes.
to put in the work as much as I am, but the fruits of your labor will show.
Yes.
It's really basic in that regard. The most successful artists, everything I've worked with, work their asses off. And the greatest example I will always stand by is I was fortunate to work with the band Metallica
Hmm.
for almost 4 years. And their work ethic then, now, and as long as they're doing this, is second to none,
Yeah.
because what they expect out of people in their circle, and they have a big circle, they also put in that energy. They
Right.
put in that time. None of the members of that band are sitting back waiting on someone or wait. They're involved extensively
Hmm.
in every aspect of what Metallica is.
Yeah.
So when your band, whoever you are, if you think you write a pop song and you write a rock song and you're famous tomorrow and you don't have to do anything, uh, that, there's going to be a
Rude
reality.
awakening.
Yeah, very rude. And I have had, I will obviously not name bands I've worked with that were a total nightmare
Right.
and that
Right.
behaved in such a manner, but they existed, and they behaved in such a manner, and they're not here.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my
um,
goodness.
that's sort of the way that goes.
And I think that that can go in any kind of work, any kind of art where you have to put in some kind of effort. I remember being a mentor for several models and they're like, "Oh, well, will you mentor me?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll take you on." Well, they wanted me to do all of their posting on all of their socials. I had to come up with all the information for the socials. I had to be the photographer for their content. And at the end of the day, it was literally just they were a face and I did all the work. And I
Well,
was like,
you're not describing mentoring, you're describing babysitting.
yeah,
And
that's what
that's
I said.
my mentors, some who are still here, some who are gone. Their mentoring was educational, but they didn't do the work for me. I
Yes.
did the work.
Yes.
I went in when I took the job at Elektra. The person who had it prior to me was at a different record label. She was at
Mm-hmm.
Atlantic. And I called her one day and I said, I need to, can I come see you? Can we have
Right.
a one-on-one? And I sat down and she just goes, this is how it works.
Yeah.
And I was very young. I actually started at Elektra before I could drink legally.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a conversation that I'll never forget, that was absolutely inspiring and educational. And to this day, even though she's no longer with us, she's someone that I constantly go, I work hard for her. I work
Yeah.
hard because she took the time to educate me
Right.
into into the work I would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
What you described with talent who act in such a way is someone or people
They're just
multiple.
so entitled.
Well,
And
entitled,
they
yes,
want to do all the work. They
but
want you
the
to do all the work for them.
but the sad part is they'll never find the success that they are looking for because they
That's
will
exactly
never
right.
work for it. And at some point, they will learn the hard way whatever downfall that potentially happens to them.
Yes.
That if they had not acted in a manner unbecoming, they wouldn't be in the situation that they're in.
That's exactly right.
So
And
don't babysit anymore.
yeah, no. Well, it was somebody that was supposed to be my friend. That was the issue.
Oof.
That was
Supposed
the
to be
issue.
my friend is
Yeah.
something that
Yes.
is a term that is as old as time, my dear.
I was like,
Heard that too many times.
I can help you get in, but you're going to have to do the work yourself. And they were like, oh, I can do that. And they're like, well, will you do the first little bit and show me how it works? And I was like, I don't mind showing you the ropes, showing you, how
Sure.
to angles, how to be educated. Well, education turned into them wanting me to do the work. And then I explained to them, this is not what I signed up for. You're not asking me to mentor you. You're asking me to do all the work and you just watch me do it. Like you're not
Yeah.
learning anything because you're not
Yeah.
using the information I give you. Yeah, I was like this, I'm
So
not,
what do we learn from this?
I'm not okay. I don't mentor anymore. so, so there's
Well, I
that.
mean, well, you probably would mentor someone that you knew
Would put in the work.
put
Yes.
in the work, of course. And
Yes.
by the way, if someone pays you, it's still mentoring. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's not saying just because mentor doesn't mean free. You can be a
Exactly.
paid mentor. So
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
I don't equate mentoring as something with that has to be without payment.
Mm-hmm. Same. I don't either. It was one of those situations. Anybody listening, do not go into any kind of business with a friend, period,
Mm,
because they're going to try to take advantage of you some way. Well, not
yeah.
all of them, but the majority of them. They think that their shortcomings will be made up by you. And I've always found that, always. And since, of course, my brand grew, I have a lot of people. Kentucky's super small, super conservative, like behind the times on everything. I'm going to tell you, it's a struggle here. So you don't find a lot of people here that are talent or artists, especially not in the open,
Yeah.
because it's just so frowned upon. So everybody thinks I'm like the meal ticket. They're like, oh, well,
Mm,
a bunch of people. That means you can make me famous. And I'm like, no, it doesn't.
yeah. Yeah. I'm
No.
going to push back on the friend thing because certainly there's much history. I'll bring an example. You look at LeBron James and this circle of friends who have all risen together to have
Right.
incredibly successful businesses.
They put
So
in
you
the work
can't,
though.
but there you go. You can have friends, you can do business with friends, but they have to hold up their own.
Yes, 100%. And somebody that's not going to put in the work, they're not going to be successful regardless. Because at the end of the day, the person putting in the work is going to be the one that's successful, right?
Yeah.
And these people just don't understand that. They think it's like a free ride kind of situation. And when you're an artist, it's never a free ride.
Avoid at all costs.
Oh my goodness. So tell me, okay, so I know that you decided to kind of do the spectrum just because you could. So what is your favorite part of working with adult artists?
I think it's when you have success and they really enjoy and appreciate it.
Mm.
It's fun when you're working with someone who's very hardworking
Right.
and who has passion, you can't tiptoe into this industry. You can't do it half-assed. You got to
Yeah.
go, to put it bluntly, full ass. But point being is the people that I've worked with, all genders, all sexes, who are passionate, love what they do, and when we have whatever the success is, an interview, a this, a that, whatever it is, and they're excited about it, that gives me excitement. That gives me
Yeah.
joy, you know,
Yeah.
and that we don't take anything for granted. That
For
every
sure.
victory is, we enjoy every victory, and I think that's really important, especially in this
Yes.
industry. Excuse me, because you have the whole world against you, and you
Mm-hmm.
have your fans that are sort of this silent majority or minority,
Right.
and they're supportive and they'll speak up, but you know you have to, you find your success in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the clients that I definitely enjoy spending
And
my
you'll
time.
see some people, the people I enjoy more are the ones that not only enjoy it, but they treat it like a business. It's not one of those things that, oh, this is just a hobby. Because
No, this
at
is
the end
not
of
a
the day,
hobby. Yeah, I
at the
mean,
end of
but
the
but
day,
in all seriousness, the adult industry is not a hobby. It's called an
yeah,
industry.
yeah,
you know None of these, anything with the word industry isn't a hobby.
yeah.
you know yeah, there are people that play sports for a living and they're extremely talented, and they'll admit they're the luckiest people on earth for the fact that they get to play, a
They get to
childhood
do
game.
something they love. Yeah.
Yeah, but those are industries too.
Yes.
So, God bless if you can make money as a hobby,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a very small, minute part of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. I completely agree. So tell me what a typical day looks like for you.
Yeah.
What does it consist of?
I mean, I get into my office. I get in pretty early because I have clients all over the world, and the inbox is going 24/7, 365. So it's catching up with what I missed while I was asleep, getting press releases prepped and ready to go the next day, or that day. At the end of the day, the following, um, diving into text and Skypes and DMs and all the
Mm-hmm.
different ways we message each other, touching base with clients. Every day is very different. So I
Right.
don't come in with like specific agendas. I've
Mm-hmm.
learned that over the years. There's no
No
specific,
expectation.
yeah, no expectation, unless there's something on assignment or something on
Right.
deadline, sure. But in this day and age, you come in and you're dealing with the needs of the day from the
Right.
people who are asking of you. So that's the constant daily grind.
Yeah.
People sort of hit you up and need something yesterday, so you jump on it.
Mm-hmm.
I take a lot of pride in being as responsive and as quickly as possible with media clients and
I can
everyone else.
attest to this.
You do. So I mean, it's important because people don't do that. You
Right.
know,
No.
I sort of have that zero inbox. I've always had the zero inbox mentality.
Yeah.
When I see someone's phone and their email says like 20,400 emails, I don't even know what that means. I mean, God, I know there's successful people that have that, and God bless them. It's just not me. I
Right.
can't. And maybe it's my Virgo tendencies. I don't
You
know.
like to stay ahead too.
I have to. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, I have to. In this profession, in publicity, you're constantly chasing,
Mm-hmm.
constantly chasing.
Right.
So you have to be prepared for whatever the day is going to throw at you as soon as you get started.
Mm-hmm. So I know we were talking kind of about mentoring, intern kind of positions a little bit earlier. Do you ever take anyone as an intern?
I have. It's been a long time. It's funny. I actually called a university locally here in Southern California, and the lady kind of gave me the rigmarole of what it would take to try and get an intern. And
Mm.
it seemed a lot easier years ago.
Yeah.
So uh, I realized I hadn't done it in a while, and I'll certainly take one on again. But I don't know if I'll be taking one on from that school because
Right.
I don't have the time to fill out all the necessary online work and everything to then potentially get an
Yeah.
intern. It
Right.
was really wild. It was a very eye-opening conversation because I don't recall it being that in depth And now interns have expectations, i.e. they expect to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
And
not
there's a
all
lot
about,
of tape with that, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I'll probably keep my next intern. It'll probably come from a friend of a friend.
Right. Right.
I would guess.
I don't blame you.
So, but I have done it. But to all those looking to call their local university and ask, I think it's a little different than it used to be, in my opinion.
I've noticed almost everything that you go at now, there's a whole lot more paperwork to it. And a lot of that is just covering your butt,
Protection.
like, yeah, making sure that something, if it does go south, it's not going to like bankrupt you or do something, you know what I mean?
Well,
So,
I have to be careful too with based on the content I work with. I
mm-hmm.
work with adult content.
Yeah,
If anything offends or bothers you, this
could be a
isn't going to work.
liability. Yep.
I can't have that.
Yeah.
So probably another reason I've kept it a small, tight organization over here.
Right. Yeah. And I love that though. Like, whenever it is the smaller organization, you have the opportunity to be more hands on so that you actually know your clients. It's not someone else that takes care of the clients. You get to personally know them and help them. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I find that that's for me more fulfilling. So whenever I get to see someone's growth and I'm a part of it, it makes me feel better about my job. Like, fuck yeah, I helped do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're 1,000% right. And there's, in all facets of business, there are firms that are large and small. Large
Mhm.
firms do what they do well. Small firms do what they do well.
Right.
So I agree.
Super hands-on. I love it. Love it. So, if anyone was interested in maybe shadowing, doing some kind of mentor internship with
Yeah.
you because they wanted to do what you do, what information will you give them? What kind of advice?
I mean, I would don't be picky on your internship. Don't be picky
Mhm.
on who you start with. Get started with someone.
Yeah.
Get in. That was my whole thing.
Your foot
I
in.
had a
Yeah.
few internships in my late teens before I got an actual paid job.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to get as much education from as many of the right people as you possibly can. Here's the beauty of it. If you take an internship and it doesn't work or you're not feeling it, you'll shake hands and walk away from it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not really a fan of sitting and waiting or, oh, I don't know if this one's the right fit
Right.
while you're waiting for something else. You can go to the next, you can always look for something else
Yeah.
while you're working. That's what people do in profession.
Yes. Yes.
Their eyes are always open to opportunity.
And it should
So
be for
don't
growth,
sit and
right?
wait. Don't
Yeah.
sit and wait. That's my biggest thing.
For sure. For sure. I love it. So, let's kind of talk about, I know that you, of course, doing everything yourself, you are technically self-employed. So,
Well, I have an LLC. So, I mean,
okay,
I
okay,
have one. So it's my company that I work. But I
nice.
have done the self-employed. Don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
I know
What's
both.
the, what does it feel like for you in difference? Like, of course, we're not talking about like money wise, but like
Yeah.
paperwork, kind of how much effort you have to put in. Is there more effort for you to put in for the LLC than it is for self-employment?
No, you should always, if you can have an LLC, you should. It just protects you. It's taxes, it's
Right,
protection.
right.
Based on whatever state you have it in. Obviously, in
Hmm.
California, you have to pay the $800 a year.
Right.
But it's very important. And no, I mean the biggest things in any business are to make sure you have a great accountant and a great attorney.
Hmm.
So when you have those, you're in good shape. You're in
Yeah,
great shape.
for sure.
Um, so no, to answer your question, not a big difference.
Hmm.
Um, based your paperwork and whatnot will be based on your company growth.
Right. I remember whenever I got my LLC, it was one of those things. It was a kind of easy process. I literally went online, filled out some paperwork, and you can do almost everything digital now.
Yeah,
So I went online, filled out my paperwork, and I paid with my credit card, and then I got
yeah,
everything filled out, and then they actually sent my information through the mail to me. So it's not that hard to set up now.
no, no.
But do your
There,
research though, because there's different kinds.
well, it's sad. I mean, it's something we're not educated in our
Yes,
young.
exactly.
It's kind of sad. They
Yeah.
teach you how to use I remember learning how to use credit cards, which
Yeah.
wasn't good. That's not greatest education. I wish we learned how to start businesses in high school.
Yes.
I think that's
Yes.
really important. It's not for everybody. People like to be 9 to 5, have a job, take a check, do their thing.
Yeah.
And God
They don't
bless
like the responsibility of it. Some people
them. It's a
don't.
lot. It's a lot, but they're very good at whatever their craft is.
Yes.
So this isn't for everyone,
Right.
but it is something that needs to be taught more. And it's not the largest, yeah, you can go to get degrees in business, business management and business
Mm-hmm.
ilks and whatnot. But
Right.
as far as the basics of running a business, starting one, very simple, obviously, as you said, very online, everything is.
Yeah.
So there's no reason not to if you're looking to pursue something.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest decision to make was what you actually wanted your business to be, whether you wanted
Yeah.
it to be an LLC or you wanted a corporation, like just knowing the difference. And that's kind of hard too, because nobody gets educated on that, right?
But
So you
that's
have
what a
to
good attorney is for.
yes.
That goes back to my have a really good accountant, have a really good attorney.
Mm-hmm.
They'll explain everything to you and you will figure it out with them. Really, it's that
Yes. 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 I love it. Love
that's
it.
simple.
So tell me about kind of your experiences. I know you've taken on a ton of clients. So kind of tell me what your experience was with them. Did you have some type of artist that was like your least favorite and your most favorite to work with? Like the different industries.
Yeah, I mean, again, not naming names, I've had clients that were amazing and clients that were truly
Right.
awful. But I do go back to what I said earlier. My best clients, current and past, have been ones that we've worked together on whatever it is, whatever
Mhm.
goals we've set. Those are the best, and that's across all industries.
Right.
And the worst clients I've had,
So it's really
listen to what,
work ethic. It's not really the
yeah,
industry itself. It's their
yeah,
work ethic. Okay.
yeah, it's absolutely, it's not industry, it's all industry,
Okay.
not just one. And the worst clients have been the ones that say they hear me, they're not listening when I say this is how it works.
Right.
And then, a month, 2 months later, they're, disappointed. At the same time, I've taken on work that's been challenging and the media didn't care. And I was disappointed in myself and I was disappointed if I didn't accomplish what I had hoped to for the client.
Right.
I've taken on things that certainly have been challenging and you've tried to push the envelope and garner what the goals and what you're trying to for them. And those, you have disappointments.
Right.
Absolutely. You just don't let them get to you.
Right.
They exist. There are things beyond your control.
Right.
You
And the
weren't the
human
right.
element is always going to be out of control. Like
Yeah. And
human
you weren't,
element.
maybe I wasn't the right fit. There's publicists are people.
Right.
So I'm not, whether we turn into AI chatbots down the road, we'll see. But, for the time being, and I think for a while, we're people that have different relationships, have different mindsets, have different work ethics, so on and
Yes.
so forth.
And that's
So,
huge.
yeah. So that's what goes into it, it's a relationship business. It's between,
Yes.
like anything, it's between the client and the person, myself.
Mhm.
So when it works, it works. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. And you
Yes.
can't force it, you just shake hands and walk away. That's always been my line.
Right.
It's not working. We shake hands and walk away.
Right. Because there's compatibility for all types of relationships, right? And this is another one of those.
Yeah.
You're not going to be compatible with everybody, and that's okay. It's just like if you go to work for a company, you might not be compatible with them. And at the end of the day, it's okay to be like, hey, this isn't really working for me. Maybe I need to try something else. Like
Yeah.
that's okay.
I will say, and I'll leave names out, but I had a client, actually not in the adult industry, where they pretty much never had a publicist, and we worked together and we did a lot real fast, like almost too fast.
Right.
And it's sort of, they weren't sure what to do. And then sure enough, after a year and an incredible amount, the level of expectation rose and their mindset was, well, I guess I need to hire a bigger PR firm because, whatever their reasoning was. And
Yeah.
I just sort of, I was pretty pissed off in the aspect of I worked really hard for said person and company. And I felt like, wow, I call it sort of Frankenstein syndrome, where some people who come from nothing and become big and see their name in lights, all of a sudden they have these expectations.
They get struck and heavy expectations. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
it
they
happens.
expect someone else to do more work for them. It's like they
Yeah,
expect to put in less effort and someone else do more work. I've seen that happen myself too.
yeah,
And for me, it's kind of discouraging because I take pride in my relationships, right?
yeah,
Because overall consistency and growth become better with time as long as it's equal give on each side. Like, whenever I work with people later on that I have a good relationship with, it's like the chemistry gets better over time.
yeah.
You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Well, I mean, fame is a drug for what
Yeah,
it's worth. You
yeah.
know, it alters your brain. You are not the same person in more cases than not when you became really famous. There's very few, I think of someone like Dave Grohl as the consummate professional and the ultimate rock star
Right.
who, if you had spent time with him, which I was fortunate to 20 some odd years ago, and
Mhm.
I spend time with him tomorrow, randomly, if I did, he's the same person.
Yeah.
Yet he's 100 million albums later, hundreds of
Mhm.
tours. Unfortunately, has gone through the ups and downs in life, as we all know with his band. But he's the same. And there are people that gives you hope.
Mhm. Yeah.
But sometimes people who don't have never had exposure
Mhm.
all of a sudden have it, and it does change you because it's a
Yeah.
mind altering thing.
Yeah.
And so it's and we've watched all the shows and read all the articles on people and the ups and downs in life, right? And
Mhm.
certainly I've witnessed it and I've
Right.
listened to their stories, and people will come from nothing, become larger than life, think
Mhm.
it'll never end. It always ends.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and they move down. I mean, I say it never ends. You know, I got to work with Gene Simmons years ago, and of course, Kiss is the biggest band in the world. But but they're the biggest band in the world because that man, no one works harder.
Yeah.
No one works harder. And I remember I had booked him on Loveline when there was Loveline, the syndicated radio show. And we were parting ways, and I go to my car, he goes to his, or he goes to wherever, and he goes, "Oh yeah, someone, either he or someone had sent me a schedule, and he was shooting this reality show, literally flying to somewhere in the world the next day, and then shooting for like 3 months."
Mhm.
And I looked at him like, "You don't stop," and he just smiled and rolled up his window. It was wild. It was wild because it was one of those where this guy works and works and works, loves what he does.
Mhm.
If he and Paul could physically keep Kiss, just the two of them and the other members, and do it until literally they couldn't breathe anymore, they would.
Mhm. Right.
And so you have that. You have people that just have these phenomenal
Mhm.
work ethics, and
It makes
just
you excited to work with people, don't it? Like,
yeah, you
whenever you
want to
see
find those
somebody,
people.
yeah, it
Yeah,
makes you want to be like, there are people out there that are worth my time. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah.
there are, but sometimes like sifting through a store, you got to find,
Yeah.
through a whatchamacallit store. You're
Yeah.
looking for that one jacket. You got to
Right.
sift through a lot of jackets to find it.
It reminds me of Waldo. Where's Waldo?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're looking. We're all searching for them. Some days are easier than others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. And that reminds me of the next question that I wanted to ask
Yeah,
you. Since you've been in the industry, do you have, well, I'm talking about, being in public relations, do
yeah.
you have any regrets?
I don't think I have regrets. I don't have regrets. I just know there are times where I put my all into something and it just didn't
Mhm.
take off. And
Right.
there are there are so many people and bands and all forms of entertainment that you might look at something and go, "Gosh, I wish that was more successful," or "I wish
Right.
this had happened," or whatever. It's not in the regret field. There's no regrets in that regard. It's just that what could have been. Oh man, if
Yes.
if this had happened, if that had happened,
Right.
if whatever the circumstance was, it was like
Well,
it would have been different.
clearly any of those moments you took and turned to your advantage because it sounds like you are ever evolving and learning, and I love it.
Yeah, that's true. Again, you're saying it much more eloquent than I am. you're constantly evolving and learning from those things. Absolutely. But no regrets. I mean, if I did, I've already forgot them, which is a good thing.
That's a good thing. Maybe it's just that moment of doubt. And then you're like, nah,
Yeah,
I'm just a kick-ass motherfucker. I'm just gonna keep
yeah.
going.
I'm just gonna go down the street and a burrito and a margarita and shake it off.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm gonna say that whenever I have people contact me, not everyone knows what they want, right? Not
Yeah.
everyone kind of knows what direction that they want to go, especially being an artist. Some people come to you with some kind of like unrealistic expectations. They don't really know what they're talking about. So at the end of the day, with all the people that reach out to you to kind of become part of your team, how much, well, I guess what kind of percentage of those people do you feel like actually commit to?
Mm. I don't know if I could put a number on it. I really don't. I've been fortunate. I would say the majority of people I've worked with committed,
Okay.
and we're that, because when you come, if someone's coming to me, they've already gone X amount of steps in their career or
Right.
in what they envision. You don't come to me and go, I have, with an empty slate and go, what are we
I don't
gonna
know what
do?
I'm doing with my life. I don't know what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
yeah, that's not for me. I'm not, you're not hiring a publicist for that. You're hiring me because you know what you want. You want to scream it from the rooftop.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, for the most part, certainly there's guidance and there's discussions and where are we going,
Mm-hmm.
what are we going to do, but
Right.
definitely not the empty slate of hey, I don't know what to do with my life.
Right.
Uh, to people like that, I don't know that feeling because I started when I was in high school, which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
Figured it out fast, which
Yeah,
I'm
that's
in.
amazing because let me tell you, that's a small percentage of people that do that.
Very small, very small. No, and I agree. But I just feel like I almost feel like if you have that and you got a little money in the bank, please go
Mm-hmm.
travel the world for a couple months and see this
Yeah.
place. And because once you figure it out, you're going to start working, right? You're
Yeah.
going to start grinding. So if you don't know what the hell you're doing, go see the world because
Yeah.
the world's awesome. I've been fortunate to see many places,
Yeah.
amazing, but a
And you
lot of it,
find yourself doing that, right? You can
yeah,
find yourself if you're
yeah,
lost. It can help
yeah,
you know who you are.
yeah. Go. That's my advice. That person, go
Yeah.
travel, and you
Yeah.
can do it. You can listen. All you need is one ticket, one flight, one destination, and once you get there, wherever you go, who knows? That's the
Right.
exciting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So, let's talk about the conversion. So whenever you went from the music industry over to adult entertainment, did you have like friends and family that were supportive and they were like, oh, that's an awesome new journey? Or did you have like pushback and like, maybe you should avoid that?
I have two stories.
Okay.
All of my circle was amazing. My circle was completely supportive. The
Hmm.
one person that absolutely thought it was disgusting was someone I had met, a female who I had met like the year before.
Mhm.
And we stayed in touch, and she came to California, and we went to Disneyland. She wasn't from here, and we hung out for a few days. And I had a job interview.
Mhm.
And when I came back, I said, I think I'm going to go work at this company. And she's like, what do they do? And I tell her.
Mhm.
She goes, that's disgusting. And all I kept thinking was, I'm never going to see you again.
Yeah.
You're not going to be the basis of my career decision.
Right.
So I got this figured out. So no, I mean, to put it bluntly, the support was incredible. You always have your circle of friends and circle
Mhm.
that you ask
Yeah.
when you run things by, especially when you're younger.
Yeah.
And they were unbelievable. I've always
But
had older friends and older mentors, so
yeah.
they were like, that's brilliant. Let's
Yeah.
do it. So yeah,
Amazing stuff.
but once I started the job, there were certainly plenty of people, especially you know pre everything in the late '90s,
Yeah.
that were like, you work with filth,
Yeah.
that's disgusting. I would
Yeah.
never, blah blah
But
blah.
you know they did that stuff in their own time. They were just upset at other
Yeah,
people doing it in the open.
yeah, yep, absolutely. I gotta get going in a couple minutes, so just giving you a heads up.
For sure, for sure. Okay, I will ask you one more question.
Yeah, let's do it.
Whenever you came into the community, how did they make you feel? What kind of, I guess, welcoming did you get? Was it a positive experience? Was it kind of like a neutral experience?
Now, the adult industry in the late 90s, which was booming, the companies were big, lots of employees, lots of people from all walks of life. Oh, wow. I mean, they were incredible. There were some really incredible people who taught me so much and so quickly.
Yeah.
And were so supportive. And I built relationships with some I still have, some I don't.
Right.
People come and go.
Yeah.
But the people in this industry have and understand the us versus them mentality, and that we protect ourselves, we protect each other, because we're just we're X amount and the world is billions, and plenty of those billions don't like what we do for a living,
right?
Whether they watch it or not, whether they participate or not,
right?
Whether they have political feelings one way or the other. So to surmise, it was and has always been, and I've always tried to be that person that is like the people I met when I got in, both on the talent side, on the production side, on the marketing side, on the business side. Very open people who knew that once you started, you've got necks on your back the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So there's
even
no
if you retire
back. Yeah, you're with us.
Yeah.
And so they take you in and they made, they feed you and they made you feel good. So all positive in that regard.
Good. I'm so glad to hear it. So glad to hear it.
Yeah.
I do want to thank you guys for coming to listening to another episode of Forbidden Depths. And thank you so much for being so amazing. I loved it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. You're thanking everyone else. I'm like, I don't know if you're thanking me yet, or if you're going to, but I appreciate anyone who listens. And this is a fascinating medium where, like I said, we're just listening in on people's conversations, and it's fun. It's fun. You always learn something from the smallest to the biggest. The size of the podcast, I tell people, it doesn't matter. It's two people talking. You're going to learn from it.
Yeah. So anybody that's listening that does want to contact him, he does have a Twitter along with other socials. You're going to go Twitter at BSGPR. And is Twitter your preferred platform?
Yeah. Hit me up on Twitter. That's the easy and best way to do it.
And of course, all of his other links are in the bio, conveniently located for you. So again, thank you so much for being amazing. I will let you get to your day.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time. This was a lot of fun, and we'll do it again soon.
Yes. You guys have an amazing day. We'll see you on the next episode.
Hey, it's Queen Frostbitten again, your host. I just want to remind you that you can follow us on YouTube at Forbidden Depths. That's FORBIDDENDEPTHS. Or over on Twitter at the number 4 BIDDENDPODCAST. Remember to always stay educated, consensual, and safe. We'll see you on the next show.